I drove 9 hours through the worst snowstorm in decades to surprise Amanda on her 30th birthday. My fingers gripped the steering wheel so tight they turned white as ice formed on the windshield faster than the defroster could melt it. Despite our recent struggles, I still loved my wife more than anything. The chocolate raspberry cake with buttercream frosting, her favorite, sat safely in the passenger seat. I believe this gesture would remind her of the man she fell in love with 6 years ago. Little did I know what waited behind that door would change everything. Before I tell you what happened when I opened that door, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button if you ever gone above and beyond for someone who did not appreciate it. I met Amanda during our junior year at Northwestern University. I was studying civil engineering while she pursued her business degree. We literally bumped into each other at a campus coffee shop, my textbooks scattered across the floor, her latte spilling on my favorite jacket. Instead of getting angry, we both laughed. Her smile lit up the entire room, and I knew right then I wanted to see that smile every day for the rest of my life. Our romance moved quickly. We started dating that week and became inseparable. Amanda was brilliant, ambitious, and had this infectious energy that made everyone around her feel more alive. I proposed after graduation, and we married a year later at 24, young by today's standards. But we were certain we had found our forever person. The early years were beautiful. We settled in Chicago, took weekend trips to Michigan wine country, and dreamed about our future together. Amanda landed an entry-level position at a prestigious marketing firm downtown, while I started working for a construction management company. We complemented each other perfectly. She brought spontaneity and vision to our relationship, while I provided stability and practical problem-solving. At least that's how things began. As years passed, things began changing subtly. Amanda rose quickly through the ranks at her company, requiring longer hours and frequent evening networking events. Meanwhile, my role expanded to overseeing projects across the Midwest, forcing me to travel several days each month. The distance grew slowly, so gradually, I barely noticed until it became impossible to ignore. 8 months ago, something fundamentally shifted in our marriage. Amanda started declining my dinner invitations, saying she was too tired. Our conversations grew shorter, more superficial. When I tried talking about our relationship, she would change the subject or find an excuse to leave the room. The warmth that once defined our home disappeared, replaced by a coldness I could not understand. I tried everything to rekindle what we had. Surprise date nights at her favorite restaurants, weekend getaways to places we loved, thoughtful gifts for no particular reason. Nothing seemed to break through the wall she had built. Eventually, Amanda moved her things into the guest bedroom, claiming my snoring kept her awake. I knew it was an excuse, but I allowed it, hoping it was just a phase. The distance between us widened into a chasm I no longer knew how to cross. The Denver project came at the worst possible time for our marriage, but represented a massive opportunity for my career. My company had secured a contract to oversee a $40 million commercial development, and my boss selected me to manage it. This would mean 3 months of frequent travel between Chicago and Colorado, but the promotion and bonus that would follow could set us up for the future we had always planned. This is the last big project that will require so much travel. I promised Amanda over dinner the night I told her about the assignment. After this, I can request more local work. Maybe we can finally start thinking about buying a house in the suburbs. She nodded without looking up from her phone, her expression unreadable. That sounds great, Ricardo. Congratulations. The project proved even more demanding than expected. Winter weather caused repeated construction delays. Suppliers missed deadlines. Contractors disagreed with architects. I spent hours on conference calls trying to mediate disputes and keep everything on schedule. Each night in my hotel room, I would call Amanda, but our conversations grew shorter and less frequent. Some nights, she did not answer at all. Despite everything, I still believed we could fix our marriage. I just needed to complete this project successfully, then focus all my attention on rebuilding what we had lost. When I realized Amanda's birthday fell during a critical week of the Denver project, I initially resigned myself to missing it. I had already scheduled an important meeting with investors that would be impossible to reschedule. But lying awake in my hotel room 3 nights before her birthday, I made a decision that would change everything. I need to be there, I told myself. This could be our turning point. The next morning, I approached my project coordinator, Michael. I need to ask a huge favor, I explained. My wife's birthday is the day after tomorrow, and things have been rough between us. I need to be there. Michael, who had been married 20 years, immediately understood. We can move the investor meeting to the morning. If you leave right after, you can make it home by evening. I spent that night planning the perfect surprise. I ordered her favorite cake from the bakery, where we bought our wedding cake. I found a delicate sapphire necklace that matched her eyes. I even called her sister Sophia, who agreed to bring Amanda home by 7 without revealing my plans. Everything was set. I just needed to make the 9-hour drive from Denver to Chicago. The morning of Amanda's birthday started with concerning weather reports. A major snowstorm was developing across the Midwest, moving directly across my planned route. The meteorologist on TV used phrases like dangerous conditions and travel not advised. I checked road conditions online and saw yellow and red warning indicators covering most of my journey. The smart decision would have been to postpone to call Amanda and explain the situation. But I was determined to save my marriage with this gesture. I convinced myself I could beat the worst of the storm if I left immediately. The first 2 hours went smoothly. Light snow fell as I crossed the Nebraska border, nothing my SUV could not handle. I called Amanda and left a cheerful birthday message, giving no hint of my actual plans. Hope you have a wonderful day, babe. Sorry I cannot be there. I love you. By hour, 3 conditions deteriorated rapidly. The snowfall intensified, reducing visibility to less than 50 yards. Winds gusted across the interstate, pushing my vehicle toward the shoulder. Traffic slowed to 30 miles per hour. I gripped the steering wheel with white knuckles, leaning forward, as if those few inches might help me see better through the blinding snow. Near Des Moines, I narrowly avoided a multi-car pileup, swerving onto the shoulder as vehicles ahead of me slid into each other on the icy pavement. My heart pounded in my chest as I carefully maneuvered back onto the highway. Emergency vehicles screamed past their lights, creating eerie red and blue glows in the swirling snow. Turn back, the reasonable part of my brain urged. No surprise is worth your life. But I pressed on, driven by something deeper than reason. Perhaps it was love, or perhaps fear. Fear that without this grand gesture, I would lose Amanda forever. By hour 6, my phone battery dwindled to 15%. I had been using the GPS navigation, constantly unaware of how quickly it drained power. My charger had stopped working months ago, and I never replaced it. I called Sophia quickly to confirm their plans were still on before my phone died completely. We will be at your house by 7, she assured me. Amanda has no idea. Are you sure you can make it in this weather? I will be there, I promised as the line went dead. The final 3 hours were the most grueling driving experience of my life. 2 highway rest areas were closed due to power outages. Plows struggled to keep lanes clear, as snow accumulated faster than they could remove it. I passed numerous vehicles abandoned on the roadside, their drivers presumably rescued by emergency services. My entire body ached from tension. My eyes burned from straining to see through the snow. But as the Chicago skyline finally appeared through the storm, a surge of adrenaline carried me the final miles. At 6:45, I turned onto our street, exhausted but triumphant. I had made it. 9 hours of treacherous driving, but I was here for Amanda's birthday. I noticed Sophia's silver Audi parked in our driveway right on schedule. Perfect. I parked down the block to preserve the surprise. Carefully, I retrieved the cake box from the passenger seat, where it had miraculously survived the journey intact. The jewelry box with the sapphire necklace was safely in my coat pocket. I looked like a mess. Unshaven, rumpled clothes, eyes red from fatigue, but none of that mattered. I was here. Instead of ringing the doorbell, I used my key to enter quietly. The plan was to walk in, set up the cake in the kitchen, and surprise Amanda with both my presents and the gifts. I could already imagine her expression, the shock followed by joy, the realization of what I had endured to be with her today. This would be the moment we started fresh. As I carefully closed the front door behind me, I heard voices from the kitchen, Amanda and Sophia laughing about something. I smiled, picturing their surprise when I walked in. I moved quietly across the living room cake box in hand, anticipation building with each step. But as I approached the kitchen doorway, something in their conversation made me pause. "Has Ricardo called yet?" Sophia asked. "Yeah, this morning," Amanda replied, her tone dismissive. "Left some sappy message about wishing he could be here. And you are glad he is not right." There was a pause, and then Amanda said words that stopped my heart cold. "God, I hope he crashes driving home tomorrow. I could use the insurance money." The air left my lungs as if I had been punched. Surely I had misheard. Or at least a few months of silence while he recovers. Sophia added, followed by both of them laughing loudly. I stood, frozen cake in hand, as Amanda continued. "You know, I almost feel bad. He keeps trying so hard with all these pathetic gestures. Like I would ever want things to go back to how they were." "Does he suspect anything about James?" Sophia asked. "Ricardo, please. He is too busy with his precious Denver project to notice anything. James and I have been seeing each other for months. Ricardo probably thinks I am working late every night. And the separate bedrooms, best decision ever. I told him it was because of his snoring." Amanda laughed again. "He actually apologized to me. Can you believe it? Meanwhile, I have been transferring money into my private account every month. By summer, I will have enough to start over after the divorce." "When are you going to tell him?" "After he finishes this project. His bonus should come through by then. One last payday before I drop the bomb." The room started spinning around me. My vision tunneled. The cake box began slipping from my numb fingers, and I had to consciously tighten my grip to keep from dropping it. Every word felt like a knife, stabbing deeper into my chest. Their conversation continued, each revelation worse than the last. Amanda detailing her affair with her coworker. Both women mocking my dedication to our marriage. Plans for how Amanda would maximize her take in the divorce. I stood paralyzed by shock, unable to confront them, unable to move. Eventually, operating on pure instinct, I silently placed the cake box on the kitchen counter where they would see it. With shaking hands, I took out a pen and wrote on the box. I heard everything. Then I turned and walked out the same way I came in, closing the door quietly behind me. Neither of them ever knew I was there. I drove to a Marriott hotel 20 minutes away, moving on autopilot. The desk clerk gave me a concerned look. As I checked in, I must have appeared shell-shocked. In my room, I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing my coat, staring at the wall. My body reacted before my mind could process what had happened. I rushed to the bathroom and vomited violently. Then came uncontrollable shaking. My teeth chattered so hard I thought they might break. Despite the heated room, I felt frozen from the inside out. Sleep was impossible. I spent the night pacing, replaying their conversation, searching my memories for signs I had missed. How long had Amanda been planning this? How could I have been so blind? Around 3 in the morning, a strange calm settled over me. I pulled out my laptop and began investigating our finances. The hotel Wi-Fi allowed me to access our accounts, revealing what Amanda thought I would never notice. Small withdrawals over months. 200 here, 300 there, totaling nearly $30,000. Money we had saved for a down payment on a house, now sitting in an account I knew nothing about. Next, I checked our phone records online. Hundreds of calls and texts to the same number, James, presumably often late at night or when I was traveling. The same patterns on days she claimed to be working late. By dawn, shock had given way to cold clarity. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I returned home while Amanda was at work, using my key for what would be the last time I entered our apartment with new eyes. Everything looked different now. The framed photos of us suddenly seemed like evidence of a fraud. The furniture we had picked out together felt like mere props on a stage where Amanda had been playing a role all along. In the home office, I found more evidence of her deception. Hidden in her desk drawer was a separate credit card statement I had never seen, showing weekend hotel charges in Wisconsin during weekends. She claimed to be at marketing retreats. Another folder contained printouts of apartment listings in a trendy neighborhood across town, research for her new life, I presumed. Most damning was a handwritten letter from James, too intimate to have been written to anyone but a lover, confirming their affair had been going on for at least 7 months. Fighting back nausea, I photographed everything as evidence, then called my oldest friend, Thomas, who happened to be an attorney. "I need your advice," I said when he picked up. "My marriage is over." 2 hours later, we sat in his office as I laid out everything: the overheard conversation, the financial deception, the evidence of infidelity. Thomas listened without interrupting, his expression growing more troubled with each revelation. "First things first," he said when I finished. "Do not confront her yet. That would only give her time to hide assets and fabricate her own narrative. We need to move strategically." Over the next several hours, Thomas helped me develop a plan. I opened new bank accounts at a different bank. I contacted my boss about making the Denver position permanent. I made appointments with divorce attorneys Thomas recommended. "What about the apartment?" "Are things," I asked. "Take only what you absolutely need, and what is undisputedly yours. Personal items, documents, family heirlooms. Leave everything else for now. The courts will sort it out." The hardest part was containing my emotions. Part of me wanted to confront Amanda immediately, to demand answers, to make her face what she had done. Another part wanted to simply disappear without explanation, leaving her to wonder forever. Thomas advised a middle path. "Write her a letter. Explain that you know everything. The affair, the financial deception, the insurance comment. Keep it factual, not emotional. This creates a record of your knowledge and positions you as the reasonable party." I returned to the hotel and spent hours drafting the letter, revising it, until it conveyed exactly what I needed to say without descending into accusations or pleas. I ended with a simple statement: "I deserve better than this. We both know it." The next morning, just 24 hours after discovering the truth, I returned home one last time. Amanda had left for work, probably still wondering about the cake and note from the night before. I packed 2 suitcases with clothes, my important documents, and a few irreplaceable items: photos of my parents, my grandfather, my professional certifications. Everything else I left behind. I placed the letter on our bed, her bed, with my wedding ring on top of it. One final touch: I left the receipt for the sapphire necklace I had never given her still in my wallet after the jeweler had handed it to me with a smile and a "She will love this." Then I walked out, locked the door, and slipped my key through the mail slot. By noon I was on the highway heading west, back toward Denver this time, with no intention of returning. Unlike my desperate drive through the snowstorm, this journey felt like an escape. With each mile, the pressure in my chest eased slightly. The sky cleared as I left Illinois behind. By the time I crossed into Iowa, weak winter sunshine broke through the clouds. It felt symbolic somehow. My phone began ringing around 6 that evening, Amanda discovering my absence and the letter. I silenced it without answering. Text messages followed, ranging from confused to angry to pleading. I read none of them. When I reached Denver the following day, my boss was surprised to see me. "I thought you were in Chicago for a few days," he said. "Change of plans," I replied. "Actually, I would like to discuss making my position here permanent." He raised an eyebrow but asked no questions about my personal life. By the end of our meeting, I had secured a full-time role in Denver with a substantial raise. It felt like the first positive step in my new life. I found a furnished month-to-month apartment near the construction site. The place was soulless: beige walls, generic furniture, the faint smell of previous tenants still lingering, but it was mine alone. No memories, no betrayal embedded in its walls. The first week passed in a blur of work and practical arrangements. New driver license, new bank accounts, meeting with a Colorado divorce attorney who coordinated with Thomas in Chicago. I ignored the dozens of calls and messages from Amanda, which eventually tapered to a few per day. I threw myself into the Denver project with manic energy, arriving first and leaving last each day. My team noticed the change, but attributed it to dedication rather than heartbreak. In the evenings, I joined a nearby gym, pushing my body to exhaustion on treadmills and weight machines, hoping physical fatigue might grant me dreamless sleep. It rarely worked. Night after night, I lay awake replaying Amanda's words. I hope he crashes. How could someone who once loved me wish for my death? The memory of her laughter with Sophia haunted me most of all. 2 weeks after leaving Chicago, I finally answered a call from my friend Marcus, who had been checking on our apartment at my request. She is freaking out, man, he told me. Called the police to report you missing before she found your letter. Now she is telling everyone who will listen that you overreacted, that she was just joking with her sister. Was she joking about the affair too? I asked coldly. Or the money she has been hiding? She is denying the affair, but mutual friends have seen her with some guy from her office for months. Nobody wanted to tell you. His voice dropped. I should have said something. I am sorry. Not your fault. I assured him, though, the revelation that others had known stung deeply. The third weekend after leaving, I took my first break from work. On the recommendation of a colleague, I drove into the mountains, hiking a moderate trail that wound through pine forests, still heavy with snow. The pristine silence and crisp air felt cleansing. At the summit, looking out over endless peaks, stretching to the horizon, I felt something crack open inside me, the first genuine emotion besides anger or hurt since that night. I stood there until my fingers numbed from cold, letting tears come for everything I had lost. Not just Amanda, but the future we had planned, the children. We might have had the love I thought was real. Yet alongside the grief came something unexpected: relief. Relief that I had discovered the truth before wasting more years in a marriage built on lies. When I returned to my apartment that evening, a familiar car was parked outside my building. Amanda sitting behind the wheel, looking exhausted and disheveled, nothing like the polished marketing executive she presented to the world. My first instinct was to turn around and drive away, but something made me park and approach her car instead. She stepped out when she saw me, eyes red from crying, hands twisting nervously. "How did you find me?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "Your company website listed you as project manager on the Denver development. I called every apartment complex within a 5-mile radius until I found you." She attempted a smile. "I always said you were predictable. Once I would have found that endearing." Now it felt like another criticism, another way she had found me lacking. "Why are you here, Amanda? Can we talk somewhere private?" "Please." I led her to a coffee shop down the street rather than my apartment. Some boundaries could not be crossed again. We sat in a corner booth, two strangers with nothing but painful history between us. "I did not mean what I said," she began, voice breaking. "About the accident. It was a horrible, stupid joke. Sophia and I were just blowing off steam. You have to believe me." I looked at her. Really looked at her for the first time since entering the cafe. The woman I had loved for 6 years. The woman who had wished for my death. "And James?" I asked quietly. Her eyes widened slightly before she composed herself. "There is nothing." "Do not lie to me again," I interrupted. "I saw the letter he wrote you. I saw the hotel charges. I deserve at least the dignity of truth now." Amanda's shoulders slumped. "It was a mistake. A stupid, meaningless fling that got out of hand. I ended it the day after your surprise. He meant nothing. And the money. The 30,000 you have been siphoning from our savings." She had the grace to look ashamed. "I was unhappy. I thought I needed an escape fund, but I have transferred it all back. Check the account." I shook my head slowly. "The money does not matter anymore." "What does matter then? Tell me what I can do to fix this." Her hand reached for mine across the table. I pulled back before she could touch me. "There is nothing to fix, Amanda. You were planning to divorce me after taking half my bonus. You laughed about me dying in a car accident. Even if the affair had never happened, how could I ever trust you again?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "People make mistakes, terrible ones. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I am begging you for another chance. 6 years together has to count for something." It counted for everything to me. I replied, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "That is why I drove through a blizzard to bring you cake and a sapphire necklace." That is why I was still fighting for our marriage while you were sleeping with someone else. I love you, Ricardo, she whispered. Despite everything, I do love you. Perhaps a month earlier those words might have swayed me. Now they sounded hollow, like dialogue from a play. I filed for divorce last week, I told her. My attorney will contact yours. I am not looking to punish you, Amanda. I just want to move forward with my life. Without me, she said, not a question but a realization. Yes, without you. She stayed in Denver 3 more days, calling and texting constantly. I maintained my boundaries, referring her to my attorney for all divorce matters. On the 4th morning, Marcus called to let me know she had flown back to Chicago. In the months that followed, life developed a new rhythm. The Denver project was completed ahead of schedule, earning me a substantial bonus and recognition within the company. I found a more permanent apartment with large windows that filled the space with mountain light. I joined a hiking club, making tentative friendships with people who knew nothing of my past. The divorce proceeded without drama. Amanda, perhaps hoping to salvage her reputation, agreed to a fair division of assets. There were no children to consider, no real estate, to divide just the remnants of a shared life that had ended more cleanly than it began. 1 year after that snowy drive to Chicago, I stood on the same mountain peak I had visited during my first weekend alone in Colorado. The aspen trees were changing color now, their golden leaves shimmering in the autumn sunshine. I thought about the man I had been 12 months earlier, devastated, betrayed, questioning every memory. That man was gone, replaced by someone stronger, more discerning, more at peace. I had recently begun dating Eliza, a structural engineer I met through work. We were taking things slowly, both carrying baggage from previous relationships, but there was honesty between us that felt revolutionary after years of Amanda deception. When Eliza asked about my past, I told her the truth without embellishment. When she shared her own heartbreaks, I listened without judgment. Sometimes the worst storms lead us exactly where we need to be, my grandfather used to say. Standing on that mountain, surveying the life I had built from the wreckage of betrayal, I finally understood what he meant. The greatest gift Amanda unknowingly gave me was freedom. Freedom from a marriage built on lies. Freedom to discover my own strength. Freedom to build a life of authenticity. For that I had found a way to be grateful. I think about that birthday cake, sometimes sitting on the counter, as evidence of both my love and my awakening. In the moment it represented everything I had lost. Now I recognize it as the first step toward everything I would gain. Has life ever forced you to start over when you least expected it? Leave a comment below about a time when something painful ultimately led you to a better place. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who might need to hear that betrayal is not the end of their story. Remember, the greatest revenge is not getting even, it is living well. Thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next video.